You have just tapped into the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm your host, Laura Malone. I'm here to equip and encourage coaches in skills, business, personal life, and faith. I believe you're already 100% worthy and capable, and you're called for such a time as this. So let's get you walking it out with courage and confidence so you can be an amazing coach who sees transformation and great results in both your life and the lives around you. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Christian Life Coach Collective, where all the coaches get in the know and commit to grow. So today we are tackling a struggle that we all face throughout our lives, but especially when we step into leadership, coaching, or a role with any type of higher responsibility, accountability, visibility. So think about this. When was the last time that you felt like you were not good enough? Like at any moment, somebody's going to figure out you do not belong here. You are not enough. You don't know what you're talking about. You should step out of the limelight, put down the mic, because you're totally not qualified. It might have been a couple hours ago. It might have been 2 months ago when you were doing this big thing, right? But regardless, you are not alone in it. This imposter syndrome thing and this self-doubt, it affects even the most accomplished people that you wouldn't suspect it of, right? The CEOs, the famous athletes, world-renowned speakers, all of the established leaders and authors that you follow. Or you could, let's go back to the Bible, check out Moses and Exodus 4:10, telling God, I'm not eloquent enough. Jeremiah in 1:6 saying, he's too young. Sarah laughing at becoming pregnant because she's too old. Here's the truth. Self-doubt in any form does not mean that you lack credibility or competence or especially calling. It simply means you care. You actually care enough to make sure that you're qualified and ready. So let's unpack the myth and reframe our imposter syndrome as a sign of growth rather than a roadblock that you need to run away from. Many coaches assume that if they're doubting themselves, it means they're not ready, they're not qualified, they're not credible. It proves something, right? If you look for proof of something, you will always find it because that's how your brain is wired. But it doesn't matter what you're looking for proof of, right? The reality is that imposter syndrome is really common, especially among high achievers. Why? Because an achiever wants to achieve. They care. So if you are considering I feel self-doubt and imposter syndrome about being a coach, whether it's to anybody or it's to a specific group of people, it's because you want to achieve greatness in that. You want to achieve the results that you're telling them you'll help them get, right? It's because you care. Studies show that nearly 70% of people experience this imposter syndrome feeling at some point. I'm thinking the other 30% just don't know what to call it. The reason is that growth, it always brings discomfort, growing pains. It's going to stretch you. It doesn't feel good. Self-doubt isn't disqualifying you. It's actually a signal that you're stepping outside of the comfort zone and you're pushing your own boundaries. You're expanding into new opportunities. And the verse comes to mind, I think it's Isaiah 54, about enlarging the place of your tent. It's used in a spiritual context, right? It urges us to expand our souls, our lives, embrace God's promises, not actually go, stitch and stretch your 4-man camping tent into a 10-man tent. That's what that means. So imagine that you've been coaching for a while. Now you've landed your, maybe your first client. If you haven't been coaching over a while, maybe you just landed your first client or a higher paying client. Maybe you've been doing free coaching, low cost coaching, and you've raised your prices. You feel more ready to do that. Maybe you have your first high profile client. You're like shocked. Where did this person come from? Well, the moment that you get on the call or as you're maybe preparing for it, you start second guessing yourself and you start allowing thoughts like, what if they realize I'm not enough? What if they ask a question I can't answer? What if they don't feel like they're getting results? What if I start feeling anxious about everything and I get stuck? So let's shift. Well, first of all, I'm going to remind you, manage your own thought life. Consider what you're thinking and address what you are believing. Invite the spirit of truth within you to rise up and begin actually leading your soul, which is your mind, emotions, will, and personality. Start to lead yourself well and coach yourself or get a coach to help you manage this. Like, I'm a coach for coaches, right? There are coaches out there that can help you as a coach be a better coach. How to get out of your head so that you can be in your clients, because that's what they're paying you for. But now let's shift your what if mindset to how. And instead of being reactive to your fear, be proactive about knowing what you can and will offer, and then get creative about how you will do it. So let's stop being reactive and become proactive and creative. Because when you're operating in fear, you're trying to push away from the shore of everything you're afraid might happen, whether it's real or perceived. But at some point, after leaving the shore and paddling away in your boat, you have to turn around and start paddling towards something. So that means you have to go find a horizon, decide that's what I'm moving towards, and then figure out the how of how you'll get there so you can start paddling towards something. So instead of those what ifs, I want you to reframe them to be proactive and creative. How will I show up and be fully available on this call for my client? How will I respond if I don't know the answer to a question? How will I encourage them to continue taking right action for themselves if they don't seem to be getting results? How will I move forward in this session and keep the focus on my client? So instead of thinking, what if you just decide the answer and say, how? What if is that like driving while looking in the rearview mirror? And how is driving by looking through the windshield? One's going to get you in a wreck and one's going to get you where you want to go. So switch your what if into a how and decide how you'll do something instead of framing it in fear. I also know from experience of my own coaching, over my own journey, it's easy to spend hours rereading your notes and obsessing over the knowledge and the certifications that you have or don't have, and doubting whether you're really truly qualified to guide this client in the work that they've committed to doing. You can easily convince yourself you're a fraud by allowing all of these types of thoughts to sabotage you. Here's what you need to know and pay attention to. Your client didn't hire you because you're perfect. Ta-da! They hired you because of your unique perspective and experience and your ability to listen, your genuine desire to help them grow. And when you focus on serving rather than proving yourself, your impact then becomes undeniable. If you've ever hired a coach or worked with me, or even just paid somebody to do something for you ever, then ask yourself if you seriously had like the expectation that they would do it perfectly without hindrance, exactly how you wanted it done. And not only were the results immediate, but it was all done right the first time without strain or error. I imagine you probably never think about hiring somebody for these reasons, and your clients didn't hire you for these reasons, right? You would want a coach who is human, not a robot. You want somebody who identifies with you, meaning they must know failure because you sure do, right? You don't want an AI coach. It doesn't get you. So let's talk about actually overcoming imposter syndrome. we break free from imposter syndrome with these powerful shifts, right? We need some paradigm shifts. First, let's just reframe it as growth. So instead of seeing your self-doubt as proof of inadequacy, I want you to recognize that it's a sign you are stretching. So that feeling of being out of your depth, it's actually a marker, a milestone of your progress. And then I want you to focus on your wins. So when that doubt starts creeping in, first, take your thoughts captive, right? Manage your mind and start reflecting on your past victories. So create a confidence list if you need to, or call it whatever you want. Put a folder on your desktop. Collect client testimonials and thank yous and personal milestones. Even record the sessions that are like, wow, that was amazing. Write it down. Let it be a reminder that you actually do bring value. You can even write down the situations where you're like, I know I did this well and I got it right. So you can look at it and remind yourself like, hey, I've done it before. I can do it again. So the next one is the willingness to try. So I have a coaching formula we call the confidence cache, meaning a collection of something you store up, cash, not like cold hard money cash, right? So the first C is for confidence. And the explanation that confidence, it's actually just being willing to try, regardless of the risk of failure or success, with a belief that you're going to survive either way. So when you reframe confidence as just the willingness to show up and try, it really changes things. From this willingness, you take action. A is for action. Figure out what you need to do and then go do it. After taking action, you get a ton of C, clarity. No matter the outcome, clarity is a huge win. And when you have clarity, you can figure out the how from your hindsight. How you did something is going to become a game changer for the next action that you take. And if you figure out how after you took action, because you have hindsight and you look at it, assess it, and go, oh, that's how. You don't have how before you have confidence or take action or have clarity. You get how later. And finally, the E in cash is for emotions. And this is what you actually want. And not just any emotions, but the emotions of readiness, meaning certainty, competency, and courage. And many times what we're looking for that we call confidence is readiness. We are really wishing for certainty, which can't be guaranteed, competency, which actually has to get walked out, and courage, which is something that rises up along the way. So I want you to recognize that when you think you need confidence, you do, but it's not what you think it is. You're thinking that you need the emotion of readiness that comes like as a package, the container for certainty, competency, and courage. I'm telling you, all you need is the willingness to show up and try. That is confidence. It's pretty awesome when you reframe it this way. And then building confidence, the only way to truly overcome the self-doubt is actually by doing the work and doing this confidence cache, turning it into a cycle where the confidence that you do show up with, the willingness to show up and try, it does ultimately land you in a place of feeling more ready because you keep taking action. You keep doing it, and you actually do begin to feel more certain, more competent, and more courageous. You keep doing it. Confidence is willingness, and readiness is the emotion that's a byproduct of your willingness to show up, keep trying, do it all again, and let the experience speak for itself. I'm going to say one more thing, like just be kind to yourself. Like have some grace and compassion for you. You deserve it. You don't have to be perfect to make an impact. The best coaches aren't the ones who know it all. They're the ones who keep showing up, keep trying, and are willing to grow at the same time their clients are growing. So my challenge to you today is I want you to think about 3 moments where you made a difference for a client. And maybe if you're not coaching clients yet, I want you to write down 3 moments where you've helped guide and coach someone else. And maybe it was a kid, a coworker, a friend. It doesn't matter who it is. If you're thinking about being a coach, then you are already coaching the people in your life that are right in front of you. Start writing down those moments. That's okay. That's actually, let that be part of your confidence list or folder, and start writing down and not necessarily categorize it, but like consider what kind of things are happening. Who are you helping? How are you helping them do it? You don't have to write out a full journal, like 5 pages of what happened, but find a way to simply record it and capture it. If you don't do it simple, then you won't be consistent at it. So you don't even have to be able to remember all of the details later. You just need to know that there's some documentation that you are actually capable. You're making a difference. I want you to think about how those moments actually reveal the value you create when you guide, help, coach somebody, right? And then I want you to share at least one of them with somebody. You can put it on social media. You can write a blog post about it, or just tell a friend. I am trying to work on being willing to show up and try. That's my confidence cycle. I'm building that up. And by that, I just want to share, like, I worked with somebody recently and it was really powerful. And I love how it felt to see that aha moment when my client had this moment of revelation about what they were capable of or whatever. And just verbally tell somebody about it. When you own your impact, you actually strengthen your confidence cache. You will squash the imposter and eliminate the doubt over time, and you're going to inspire other people to do the same thing. So remember that even the most successful coaches wrestle with imposter syndrome and have to work through it, but the difference is that they don't let it define them. So keep showing up, keep learning, keep stepping into your purpose and your calling as a coach. Your journey in this, it matters. And your actual unique story of being in process, it is a strength, not a weakness. And clients are really going to appreciate your humility in it. Love you, friend. All things are possible. Everything's figure outable. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. For more coaching resources and to learn how to work with me, head to sterlingandstonementoring.com or click the link in the show notes. Remember, walk boldly in your calling, and I'll talk to you next time.